Hello and welcome back to the Life and Lessons of Me. I'm your host, Jordan. Um, so the reason why I didn't do a podcast yesterday was because I needed a shower and I did not want to record video of myself without having that first. Um, so now we're doing it today because I took a shower. Anyway, quick update on my job. So, like I said in the last episode, I applied for a job at Giant. I had an interview a couple weeks ago, and I hadn't heard back yet, so I called and they said that the hiring person was still out on vacation, so that's why I hadn't heard. So, it's still going forward with that, and I am excited to potentially work. Um, I had a job before, like a couple of years ago. So, it'll be good to get out of the house and do something with my day. Probably Monday, Friday, and Sunday. So I will have things to do and school stuff. So, which I can never get motivated to do school stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm doing it, but it is what it is. So I only have a couple more weeks of class actually, but it was like a quick session. So it's going well, learning a lot. I am taking a public speaking class, so they're teaching me, how to speak better, like for my podcast and stuff like that. That's why I took that. Um, and I'm taking a business communications class. So all interesting things. So yeah. Um, Now I want to talk about, you know, I, I want to talk about real issues sometimes, like, it's relevant to day to day stuff, like, living in this country and stuff like that. So, I like to think about stuff like that. So, you know, what I think we should do is, with the issue of police brutality and stuff like that, I think we should show every time a police officer abuses their power or, you know, uses unnecessary force or even kills somebody. I want to see every single time that happens. Because then the what the news shows is only, certain types of people being abused by police and stuff like that, which paints a false picture of the reality is, police brutality is an issue, period. It doesn't have to do with what color you are or what you look like, and the younger people of today, like people that I'm friends with, they are only seeing what the news is showing, which is, you know, it's painting a narrative that police are all racist and they don't do anything to anyone else. They just do it to, those types of people, right? But in reality, cops are decent people, but there's some that, like, the power just goes to their head, like, their ego is too big and they can't handle it. So, I think those people should not be police officers, or if they are, they should be put on desk duty because that's kind of a dangerous situation. Like, they might perceive that you're not listening to them and then go nuts. So those kind of police officers are not great. They're not good. But the majority of police officers, try to de-escalate situations and stuff like that. So it's important to get all the facts first, right? So when you see a situation, like, a lot of people, the rioters, for example, who are different than the protesters, the rioters, take advantage of the situation. They don't care. And then the protesters, tend to not look at the whole situation first. They see somebody got shot, and then they're on social media blowing up your feed with stuff that you don't necessarily know is true. So it's just crazy to think about. Like, I really would like to see. I mean, I obviously don't want to see it, but I think in order to be impartial, the news needs to show every single time a police officer abuses their power, right? Because then it brings to light the fact that police brutality is the issue and racism is not, right? I'm not saying there's no racist people out there. There absolutely are. But I'm saying that police brutality is not fueled by race, at least not in most cases. It's just the police officers have power and they don't use it properly, right? There's police officers who are like, yeah, I want to better my community and stuff. So, like, those cops, they're great. They're the cops that are your friends in your community. You know them very well. You say hi to them, you joke around with them, right? And then you get situations like the one lady who thought her gun was a taser, which is really weird because, obviously I'm not a cop, but, as if you're a cop, you know which thing is which. Usually your taser's on, like, you would know which side your taser's on. So for her to draw her weapon and mistake it for a taser is kind of weird because it should be on a specific spot on your belt or on your vest. So that was weird. I don't know. I think it was an accident. I don't know, but like that, those kind of mistakes, you cannot, you just can't. And for a veteran to do that, like, I don't know, maybe she was having an off day, but yikes. Like, and I'm not saying that, we should disarm police officers because, their job is very dangerous. And, those split second decisions, not everyone can make those. So it's really difficult to judge whether the situation is de escalating and it's fine, or the situation is going to get very dangerous very quickly. And you see, there's some videos out there, like, of traffic stops where the person they pull over grabs a gun and shoots the police officer. Like, that's just kind of screwed up. So I do think, though, that they need some sort of mental health, like, officer or somebody who is trained to de-escalate those kinds of situations, um, or it's not going to get better, right? And I really don't think that, this movement that all police are bad is the right move, because if there's a robbery, who are you calling? You're not calling the mental health professional, you're calling the police. So I think that the mental health person should be dispatched with an officer who is armed, and, if the situation goes bad, they can defend the mental health officer, or whatever you want to call it. And so I think that's the right move. I don't think we should disarm police officers. I think we should keep it how it is, where they have a taser and their sidearm, and, maybe they're trained to primarily use the taser. I don't know. Like, stuff needs to change, though, because at this point everyone's against each other, and it's crazy. So the two things that I think should happen are the news should report every single incident of police brutality, not just the people who they want to show, right? Because the news is biased, and if you don't think the news is biased, you must have found a network that, reports only news, right? So right now, the news is really just opinion. It's all opinion. There's nothing factual about it. Here's what we think about this event. There's no, here is exactly what happened. We're not making any assumptions or anything. So that is what needs to happen with the news. They need to just report what happens. They don't need to say, well, I think this, because that's our job. The news is supposed to give us information, and we're supposed to make judgments based on that, not the other way around. People these days are just robotic. They're just like, oh, the news said they think this, so I have to think this also, right? That's not how it should be. It should be, here's the facts, or not even facts. Here's the events, because facts can be manipulated as well. Here is the event that happened. Now, you can think one way or the other, but here's the event, right? So I think that's what needs to change too. So the second thing is, why not have a mental health professional on site, right? Why not? And have an actual officer, right? So that solves that issue, right? The mental health person is there to de-escalate the situation. They understand if someone's hallucinating or, hearing voices in their head, and a regular police officer might not think that. A regular police officer sees a guy talking to himself or like, not listening. They don't know. They're going to think they're not complying and resisting arrest and blah, blah, blah. So, in order to truly have the ability to work with people and help people and serve and protect, I think they need a mental health something like associate. No, I don't even know what to call it. Like something like that, and the police officer. So in case the situation goes sideways, there's somebody who's trained to deal with said situation. So those are my thoughts on specifically the issue of police brutality. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me. I'm not here to fight with people, so I'm just saying what I think. So again, that's what the news does. I'm not telling you to think what I think by any means. I'm just thinking out loud here. So I think that is going to do it for this episode of the Life and Lessons of Me. However, I want to start bringing guests onto the show. So if you want to be on the show, hit me up. Let me know. And I will see what we can do about that. I'll send you a Zoom link and we can get together on the podcast. So thank you as always, and have a good day. And I'll catch you on the next one.